Our new partner who I'm really, really excited to announce we are working with. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Angie Huberman, for this connect. It's incredible. AG1 Athletic Greens. I've been using them for a while. I have them every morning on an empty stomach. Basically, take one scoop and you put it into a cup or glass or mug of 8 ounces of cold water. And this is all your greens for the day. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Every day I take this. It's so good for my digestion, my energy. It's simple. It's easy. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. This has been really, really helpful for me. I've had a lot of stomach issues my whole life, and ever since I've been gluten-free and taking the AG1s, it's really helped me in my stomach in the mornings. I love it, and I'm so psyched that they're part of the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm sure a lot of people don't like eating greens, let alone drinking your greens, but I can tell you straight up, it's got a mild tropical taste, and the taste is actually really refreshing, and I really look forward to it each morning. Don't think it's just going to be just straight bland. It tastes really, really good, and it's good for you, so remember that. This one blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's incredible, just one scoop, especially for musicians who are vegans or just musicians in general who want to get those daily greens. You can get the packets. It's incredible. I just gave some to my friend Derek from Sepultura. He traveled the whole entire world this summer, and he had those every single day. He said it saved him. I bring AG1s with me when I travel. It helps me stay healthy. You know the deal. If you're on tour and you are a picky eater, but you need to have your greens, sometimes catering doesn't have greens. Sometimes you miss the catering. Sometimes you miss the backstage food. Sometimes it's too late after the show to go get food that you like. So if you just have a scoop of AG1s in your hotel room before you go to bed, or you're in the hotel room at night and you're starving and you want something healthy, boom, life changer. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with some convenient daily nutrition. That's all you need, one scoop in a cup every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. This is it. I'm super psyched. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/OLLC to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This is incredible. I love it. It's just basic greens. For me personally, this has changed my life tremendously. I'm not a junk food vegan. I don't eat a lot of fake meats, so I'm strictly greens. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful new addition to my life. So once again, visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. and get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. athleticgreens.com/OLOC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. I just saw Miley Cyrus. Before I do the intro, who the guest is today, I went to the Taylor Hawkins thing, and it was a really beautiful evening. And Miley Cyrus performed with Def Leppard. It was an incredible photograph. That was epic.
Photograph. That's my favorite Def Leppard song.
Chappelle Lacey here, ladies and gentlemen, my man.
Sorry, what's up?
It's okay.
I love that song.
And so, Miley Cyrus performed, and then Pink performed Barracuda with Heart.
I like Pink a lot. I don't
Ladies
know
and gentlemen,
Def Leppard
Robby
at all.
Hoffman's here today as my guest. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I think Pink is fantastic. She's had a couple of big hits.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like that she has to stick with Pink. I feel she feels pigeonholed into Pink. Like Pink, if you wanted to have black hair, we don't care, Pink.
What's her real name? Carissa?
No. Shoot.
And I also think
low
key, and she doesn't have to, and we shouldn't be outing people, but could be a lesbian. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to have a short haircut, just at least pay homage. Say, the lesbian community, I appreciate you letting me appropriate this style. You know, I have borrowed from the dyke community. And you know what? I'll give you one song or something. Maybe make a bisexual song or something. A Carly Rae Jepsen type of thing. But anyway.
She did that?
Maybe cut that.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Alicia.
Her name is Alicia.
Yeah.
So I got to see you perform a couple months back with Chappelle.
Yes.
And you were amazing. And I felt a connection to, like, I knew you for a long time for some reason because you're probably New Yorker.
Yeah.
And you have a Rappaport vibe to me, which is a compliment.
I've met Michael Rappaport. We were such fans growing up of the show Boston Public.
Ooh.
Which I feel like nobody watched but my family. We got into weird, like we were in it to win it. But yeah, Michael Rappaport was really fun. And I also love him on the Wendy Williams show.
Yeah,
I don't think he should have. Well, he didn't take over.
No,
it's done. I don't know.
Done.
Yeah, they gave it to Sherry Shepherd. I have my own opinion. You can't give the Wendy show. If Wendy's gone, the show is out.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know Wendy's not happy. Like, you can't imagine that she's happy losing her show to another person.
They made it.
They gave Sherry Shepherd the Wendy Williams show.
Why did they just give Sherry Shepherd her own show?
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
And not like something that...
That's it.
That's a tough transition.
It's tough, and people who love Wendy love Wendy. You know, she's grassroots. She came up from nowhere. She started at the 6-week sneak peek, and she really built a New York show for she's just an amazing personality. She made gaffe after gaffe, which is what we love from daytime. We don't want you in the lines necessarily.
Yeah.
That's why we had Ellen until we didn't have Ellen.
Yeah,
okay,
she's gone now, right? She's retired from that.
I'm not sure.
Who, Ellen or Wendy?
Ellen, yeah.
Oh, Ellen got canceled. Really stepped up. Yeah, we went hard on that one. But anyway, I liked Michael Rappaport on Ellen as well. And I met him once after, I don't know if it was at Just for Laughs. I met him at an after party. I was doing a lot of shows there, and I guess he did a gala or something, and I went up to him, and he was gracious. And I don't always say I'm a fan, but I get excited at after parties and things like that. And I go, who cares? I know people don't like... it's like the uncool thing to go up to someone and say, I like your work. I don't care to be uncool.
Yeah.
You want to be
I
cool,
love saying
McCool?
it. I love saying it.
Yeah. You be cool, McCool.
Yeah.
I'm going to say my shit, pay my respects, and that's what I'm going to do.
That makes people's day. That makes people like stoked you're doing something.
It's
you know
like
what I mean?
cool,
yeah.
I think Rappaport should have his own show, though, for sure, like a daytime show, because the ratings were great for him. He killed it. People loved him. You know, I think he should have his own show someday.
I think he can just do a podcast. I don't think he's broad enough. I think they've been trying with him for so long. Listen, when you try with something, so he could just have that audience. He has a good audience.
Yeah.
It's a small but robust, and that's it. Some people aren't going to be mega, and it's like we don't have to keep trying. Just do your own thing. Do a podcast, whatever. You know, I think after 30 years or something in a business like that, or whatever somebody like him is on, it's like just accept and enjoy what you have at a certain point.
He just goes with it. He goes with the flow.
He really does.
Well, thank you for being here. So you talk about watching TV with your family. So there's your parents had 9 children?
10.
10 children. And you're number 7?
I'm number 7. Good memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how was, like, what kind of house did you grow up in? Like, how big
Poor.
was your house?
That's one of the first questions I get. And we were so poor. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. Shout out to Shani, who comes up in a couple podcasts now. But she was telling me, she's like, I can't even believe how poor you were. Like, we knew you were poor, but now as grown-ups, like, you were, I lived in a 3-bedroom duplex. Okay. One of the rooms wasn't really a bedroom. Like everything that was a room was turned into a bedroom. So it's tough for me to say bedroom. The only common spaces we had was the living room and the kitchen, and kind of like this open space between those, like a hallway type of space.
Yeah.
We were 3 or 4 in a room. My mother had her own room.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Must be nice.
Yeah.
So my mother had her own room, and then we kind of had this like basement where my great uncle lived and my brothers.
Yeah.
Now the basement, if you call my brother Shmuley, he goes, we lived in a hallway. It also was not a room. Like what it was like a through to the garage. Like it was like you went downstairs to the garage. But my mother stuck 2 bunk beds there on either end, and then they had even smaller like space between, almost like sleeping on a tour bus or a ship.
Tour bus, yes.
Is like, that's the space they had. And I remember they had a life-size Karl Malone, the mailman poster. Yep. Okay. And I think it must have been the length of the whole wall. And then that's where they had the laundry and the basketball. My brothers loved basketball. And that was their whole room. And I called my brother recently, because I sometimes delve into like how insane that we even made it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get here with my brother, but I felt like I needed to know the teenage years. There was a point where my brothers were 13, 14, 15, 16. Or, sorry, maybe 12, and then it jumps me, and then my brothers again, 14, 15, 16. So all teenagers sleeping in the same corridor. He's like, my brother goes, how many rooms have two doors on either side? Ma was coming in with the laundry because the laundry machine was in the garage. The garage was not like my great uncle had like, a really shitty Chevy and whatever, and none of us had licenses. And my mother was just traipsing through, doing like 6 loads of laundry a day. And I said, boys are growing. You're hormonal. What is going on in that room? Because as girls, we were fine.
No privacy.
Yeah, and I know people come at me like girls are the same. I know it's not the same. Boys are at it. So I needed to know what the hell. And he said, I could tell you I never did. Okay. But I can't speak for Schneier.
Wow.
Okay. I was like, whoa. He's like, I can't speak for the others. I could tell you I didn't until like he was in the shower type of thing.
Yeah. It's only private time you have at that point.
Yeah. But he said, I could tell you I didn't, but I can't speak for Schneier. I'm like, wow. Because I don't even understand that. So I go up. It's one of the first questions I get. How big was your house? And my house was smaller than anybody I knew. I went to a really rich school. I think, Chappelle, we've talked about something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of your comedy touches on stuff that's why I feel like connected to you. But I went to a rich school on subsidy. I went to a rich private Jewish school.
Okay.
And at this school, everybody was very wealthy, but for a couple kids. And so that was even highlighted how poor I was, because I was poor. Even some of my brothers, they didn't do well at the private school, so they went to public school. We were poor even for public school. We were just so many people in that house. Like that house would have been normal if you had one kid or two, or like my great uncle Eddie was living there before 11 people came in unannounced and moved in with him. It would have been fine for like an old couple, but it exacerbated that we were 12 people living there. That's what made it. That's what made the conditions, because the house itself, it's a small part. It's fine for, raising one or two maybe if they're, if they can share a room or that type of thing. But it was just, we were a lot poorer as things go on. I realized that. But also I did feel poor because I was one of the kids in my family who went to a rich school. So I was very embarrassed by everything. I was made to be embarrassed too. Because I remember I would have friends over, and shout out again to Shani. I don't know how we even maintained a friendship still. But like she did come over and she was like, your house smells. And it did smell. Like, the shit stank. Like, it did smell.
It's a bunch of kids in there. Yeah.
My great uncle Eddie is pissing his pants. He's like, in his 80s, taking in a million kids. Damn. Like, and he pissed himself all the time. And and my mother's always cooking. My mother was, for as poor as we were, my mother cooked every single day. And that smells. Like, we always have shit going, and my mother kept us fed. I think a lot of people assume we didn't have food and stuff, especially also my size. I'm pretty small. But my mother, we always had so much food. My mother was like no frills parenting, like almost like an immigrant mentality, like, even though she's Canadian. And at this time we were in Canada, but she was like, I will keep these kids fed, sheltered, educated, period.
That's a great foundation.
When
you really think about it.
Yeah, and she just focused on those 3 things, and we had the hunger. Not only, I don't think we had the hunger, physically, but the hunger to just do whatever we needed to do. I remember when we went to, my mother has such a reverence for doctors, and my friend, again, I was at this school. My friend her father was a periodontist. Shout out to Allie. I just called the other day. I want to see how her kids are doing, but he would pass my mother, who would wait. My mother doesn't have a license, and would take the bus all around town. And my mother tried to teach music lessons. She plays the guitar. So she would traipse around in Montreal, Canada, which can be minus 35.
Yes.
Blizzard, with a guitar on her back, to make $15 an hour, whatever she was making with the lessons. And he would be leaving his office and drive right by the bus to the nice neighborhood. His office was near kind of one of the bad areas where a lot of doctors' offices are randomly like, And he would see my mother and he'd be like, Connie, let me drive you. I know you're teaching the kids in this area or whatever. I live there. Nope. no, he's a periodontist. He's busy. And he would tell me when I was at his, he's like, your kid is at my house every weekend. It's my I'm going there. She's my mother at home. I would say, Allie told me her dad saw you again and you refused to lift again. He's a doctor. I'm like, but he's going home. Like, the doctor's got to go home. Like, he's literally on his way home. You're teaching after school. He ends at 5. It's like literally perfect. It's his pleasure to. He's driving. Yeah. And she just would always, and he would tell me, I saw your mother again waiting at the bus in the car. And she refuses. You can tell her she can take a lift.
Was there like a pride thing for her? Like,
she doesn't take anything. Like no schnoring.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah, she doesn't like schnoring, which is like a Yiddish word for like you don't snore. You have what you have, and that's it. You don't need anything from anyone. And I remember, yeah.
How long did you live? So were you born in Canada or New York?
New York.
How long were you there for before you went to
Just
Canada?
till a little kid, and then I grew up mostly in Canada. My mother is from Montreal. That's where we ended up there when we left the Hasidic community because she had her support there. Again, my great uncle Eddie, who had this little duplex that we literally, classically took over. I don't want to bring in the, Israel-Palestine dynamic there, but we were Jews being Jews. No, and I'm kidding. That's just a joke. Let me joke. Jews, do not come at me. But we will come and take your house. Like, this is what happened to another Jew. This is exactly what happened. It's supposed to be temporary. My mother had the house until last year, until she sold it.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. She was.
Are we the same age?
Yeah, 33. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Yeah, we're around the same age. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Arizona.
Oh, okay. I thought, man, I was like, imagine he said Ottawa, Canada.
I was in Ottawa.
And then where was your pops? Was he in the picture?
So my father is somewhere in Nevada. He's not in the picture. He's still very, very religious, Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox Jewish.
Was he in the picture early on?
He was. It wasn't a good picture. I grew up in a very role-defining, traditional Hasidic culture where, and that's not indicative of all Hasidic families, actually. I know a lot of very involved fathers. It's just the roles are very defined. The woman takes care of the home and the man kind of provides. My father, both my parents were very young when they had all of us. And I think it was a lot, but my father was not very involved and they had a terrible marriage. And then when we left, it's not the kind of community that you can kind of maintain split custody or something. You're either in that community or you're not in that community.
Wow. So once you leave, you're out, kind of?
Yeah, so we were out. But we were still quite religious. I mean, and some things stay with you forever. I was kosher till 19.
What does that mean to the listeners? What does that mean?
Kosher is just dietary restrictions about...
Is that vegan, kind of, or no?
No, you know what? It's about... And this is a long answer. You're having me on a podcast. I'm a long-winded talker. This is the way it is. But this is kashrut for those listening. What kosher is a set of defined dietary restrictions to incorporate humanity into the way that you eat. So we're eating, but we're eating consciously, okay? So we know we have to eat animals, okay? And we don't have to, but in Judaism, we acknowledge that there's a food chain and whatever, and some people don't even believe that, but we do. But if you're going to eat an animal, there's a way to apply your humanity to it. So, for instance, a hunted animal is not kosher because you can't guarantee that you kill it instantly. Okay, unless you have perfect aim. Even if you have perfect aim, it's never 100% foolproof. Yeah. So because you don't know that you can guarantee the least suffering for the animal, it's not kosher. The only way that you can guarantee, you have to apply as much humanity as you can when killing an animal.
Gotcha.
So what we've come up with is, you've got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. You can't be removed from the experience. So a human person has to do it.
Wow.
I believe. And these things stretch sect to sect in different things. But the tenets of it, or you have to kill it, you have to slaughter it by cutting it quickly in its jugular, in its neck, because that is the quickest way we know so far that an animal stops suffering. It dies instantly, or as instantly as possible.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The way you kill an animal is very important to the way that if an animal is kosher or not. Because you can have a kosher animal technically, but it was killed improperly. You must bury it and honor it. It's not fair. So there's a lot of professional judgment. Did you try and limit the suffering? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The other thing is the animal must live freely. It must graze the fields, which is the language. So you can't have a cooped up cow is not a kosher cow.
No.
Because a cow should just be roaming and grass fed and that sort of thing. It should be as natural to the cow's experience. I think baby animals are not kosher, like veal. I can't be right on that, but things that like aren't natural, like it shouldn't die that way or whatever. And then animals who don't keep clean. The reason a pig is not kosher is because it eats its own feces. The reason shellfish isn't kosher is because it's dirty.
Yeah.
So I think biblically speaking, these were all ways to keep you free of disease in hindsight.
Yeah.
Like they were very simple rules, like don't eat a dirty animal. You won't get, cholera or malaria or any diseases that animals carry, just because the nature of their hygiene or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So it was a way to kind of keep you, and now it's almost an organic, healthy diet that everybody's come back to. This green grass fed or, kind of organic living is a lot of the same tenets that we see in kashrut, kosher or halal food for, Muslims who also practice a lot of the same kind of cleanliness and the ways in which we define what animals are edible. The reason we don't, last point on kashrut, and there's so much you can talk about here, we don't mix milk and meat is, again, for the applying humanity. You don't wash down an animal with what it feeds its young with.
Wow. I've heard that word kosher so many damn times.
Me too.
And I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like a vegan vibe with a different name because like no dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know like certain religions, like, especially like, Nation of Islam, like they don't eat pork or anything of that nature.
I believe it's a similar reason.
Yeah.
Fasting involved.
Yeah, a lot of fasting involved.
Yeah, you don't laugh at an animal that you killed. You appreciate it, that it fed your family, but you don't wash it down. Milk is reserved for its young, so you make sure the meat has digested. You wait 6 hours. The meat is not in your body when you have and then you can have a dairy meal or something like that. You keep the two separate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you be vegan too if you want?
Yeah, of course. That's all kosher.
Did you know he was vegan?
That's terrible. I was vegan for years. I'm sorry. It's terrible. I'd rather be kosher than vegan.
Yeah, you were vegan before?
I dated a vegan. All the people tell me, like, you're a vegan. Like, whenever they saw me without my girlfriend, I was, like, desperate for a steak. Like, I'm like, let's go to Ruth's Chris or whatever. Like, I'm like, I got to get in. So, like, you were terrible vegan, but... Yeah. You know what? I think it's just over. I don't do anything anymore. The world, I don't recycle. I do nothing. It is over, folks. Until corporations do it, you're not putting it on little old me.
Yeah, right.
What? I'm not doing nothing.
Hey, I fucks with that. I fucks with that mentality.
Yeah.
Show your hands. Show your hands.
What is it? What's the cow?
Oh, it's count a pig, yeah.
Nice.
He's got a count a pig tattoo on.
It's okay.
He loves animals.
So I like these conversations with people.
Wait, so are you vegan still?
Yeah. Since I was 18, since 1988.
You're still vegan?
Since 1988. I was 18.
It's over, man.
I'm 52.
It's over, man.
But do I look like I'm 52?
Yeah, you look 52, but you look good. I don't know what ages look like. I'm like, but you look good.
That's why, I was like, I wonder, I didn't know your
They're
age.
ugly 52. They're a nice 52. You look
some
hot.
Yeah. What?
And these are your frames.
Yes.
I saw that you're making your own frames.
Yeah.
That's a big endeavor.
Thank you.
I'm a glasses wearer lifelong
Yeah,
since
those are
4th
great.
grade.
So how was it growing up in a house full of all those kids? And did you feel you got the attention? You feel like was it hard for your mom to keep track of everyone and spend time with everybody?
See me, I'm on this podcast now. As far as the intention goes.
Good point.
You know what? I don't know. This is a simple answer. I don't know what is different. I would say it's so tough to compare a family of, like a nuclear family of 4, 2 parents, 2 kids, to a family of 12, 2 parents, 10 kids. Mm-hmm. There's a community element and a co-raising that happens in my family.
Yeah.
The co-raising is so big. Like I didn't get enough attention from my mother probably, but I got so much attention from my siblings in a way that other people don't. So I really don't know. There's really it's totally a different, they're just different ways of growing up. I grew up more communally. It's not the best thing to be learning from older siblings and stuff, but I learned a lot kind of haphazardly. There's shit, when I got my period, my sister, the first thing she told me is like, whatever you do, don't tell Ma. And it was just like, it's just like where girls would go to their mother or something. I was like, oh my God. I remember going to the pharmacy with my mother shopping and I wanted always pads. And I don't know how many women listeners you have, but always pads versus regular pads. And I'll teach you that. My mother's pads were diaper thick. Like they were like you were wearing a brick under. Like you couldn't wear, you felt like you were like, and my mother's, buying like these old lady pads from like the dollar store. So I remember I went to the pharmacy. I threw in a box, so sue me, of Always pads, which like they're very thin.
Yeah.
They have wings. Like they make it fun for girls that it's not so embarrassing. That it's like it fits the underwear you're wearing. It's like you're not feeling like you're wearing a diaper. You maybe just change them a little more often, but they last a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I threw in a box. We get to the cash. My mom's like, who put these in here? It's like, clearly I'm the only kid with her. Like, there's nobody around.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm like, well, I'm so embarrassed. She's like, no, we don't buy like $8 a box. You put these back. Like, just be on. We have pads at home. Like, that was the acknowledgement of my period. Like, there was no even, at some point I got my period and that's how she found out, but there was no ever... If like you need this shit, we have it at home. Yeah, there's no sit down.
And no conversations all about that, yeah.
I do remember she had my brothers in the kitchen at one point yelling. My mother's also hearing impaired. So it closes the kitchen door. And just yelling, if a girl is pregnant, it's your fault. Like, I don't know what she gave. I think she threw condoms at them. They were like, what is going on with this woman? Like, she was like, if a girl's pregnant, you know, and that was the talk they got. Like, you better not get anyone pregnant. But they were like, okay, crazy lady.
Yeah.
So,
What's wild is like listening to your story, because I don't think I've ever known it. I mean, we've talked like a little bit, but what's interesting about you, I feel like you have this very strong independence, even though you grew up around
a
lot of people, which most people, I feel like when they grow up around a lot of people, they tend to stick to that, you know, like community sense and need to be around like groups more often.
Yeah.
Whereas you just seem very, very independent. Like you walk where you want to walk and you do exactly what the fuck you want to do.
That's really interesting. No, it's really interesting. And I think I think it's true. I think both are true. I think beyond the communal co-raising of each other, of siblings teaching each other and learning by seeing them, there's also so much self-raising that I did when you don't have such involved parents, and not just my father being really absent, but my mother being absent by virtue of taking care of everything. And I don't mean she was home my mother was omnipresent, I would say, so present, but also that emotional side a little more absent. You learn to self-raise. And one of the things I've gotten really good at is listening, or, you know, in some ways good at, especially like maybe career stuff, but it's like listening to myself and my gut. Like because you're co-raising and you're making decisions for yourself. Like when I was younger, for instance, when I started comedy, and first I was in finance and I got like a steady job, and then I was doing comedy.
Communications, right?
Yeah. He's done his research. Come on, but to do comedy, at first it became like a whisper. It's like a very faint thing. Like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And then it like gets louder. And then it's like blaring. And then it's like somebody's knocking down the door. I now can hear the whisper. Like now when I make a decision, like when I knew to move from Montreal to Toronto, we did it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Like it is so fine tuned to where I can hear whispers from so far away. And I think that's the self-raising element that went into, you know, because we grew up so together for so long, but then I moved out at 17 because resources were so limited. 17, 18, most of us moved out. And then I'm like, okay. And so it's like, it's both. It's exactly what you said. And it's also the other thing. I also am fine to be around people for a long time and find solace in that. Like I can have a girl with me 24/7. Like let's say a girlfriend, she can be in the house 24/7. I can still feel alone. I can be alone, do everything I need to do alone. Some people need to be alone. Yeah. But I know how to be alone in a room with two other girls in it. Yeah. Just girls, by the way. Yeah. No, yeah. So it's interesting that I can always be alone, even when I'm not alone. Because I know how to do. Yeah. So it's always like column A and column B. A lot of us are fiercely independent kind of in the world because we had to be. There's no dependence on my mother in terms of like resources or that sort of thing. So we were kind of all given, like my mother said, like, you're going to be sheltered, you're going to be fed, you're going to be educated, and then you're going to swim. And that is what we've done. A lot of my siblings have done, are quite independent and by regular standards, doing well, which is very cool to see.
Yeah. When you moved out, would you go to college or something? Or?
No, I went. Well, I was still in Montreal. You have something called CEGEP.
Yeah.
Which is like college light. It takes a year off college, but it's like for you to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So I went to Dawson College, and I moved out. I was paying $435 a month in rent. It was excellent. And then I went to McGill in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always lived like way off campus, which I always felt like I didn't get like the university experience because I didn't live in the dorm because that's a fortune. I went on scholarship. And I lived so far off because my apartment was so cheap. And so then when I moved to Toronto, I learned that lesson. Like, Rob, you're always going to live exactly where you want to live. You're going to spend a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be in an area. You're not going to be out of the action. You're going to try and afford to live where you... So that was something to propel more money. Like, I always have to afford to live where I want to live. I'm not doing that again. I'm not missing out on an experience of being around my peers and that type of... talk and that type of energy and getting to be a part of it. So I moved to Toronto. I moved to the neighborhood I wanted to move in. When I moved to LA, I lived in Echo Park, right in the action.
I love that.
Always where if I want to be in the action and when I want to be in the country, you better believe I'm going to have the house that I want in the country. Like that is a goal for me to always just live where I want to live and not make money the priority in that case.
Yeah.
And there's so many other times when you grow up poor, you don't know when to spend the money, when not to spend the money, how much to spend. But that's something I've designated as an important expenditure for me.
Yeah. Was you felt the big freedom going on your own too?
I did. It's scary.
Was it scary?
It felt like an abandon. It felt like, I felt like all my friends could live with their parents and that sort of thing. And life just felt so hard. I was doing school. I was working. It was hard. And I also was like outed. I didn't want to be gay. As soon, you grow up poor, you grow up this way and it's like gay. I'm like, no, I don't think so. We're going to marry rich and get the cause I could have married. I mean, I did very well with boys and a lot of these kids were rich and I could marry them tomorrow. And I was like, I wouldn't even flinch from my wallet. I'm like, you're not flinching for shit.
Wow.
When I went out with guys, I didn't move. Think of the rudest bitch you ever went out with. That was me. I did not care. I'm like, it's easier for men to make money. Make money.
Yeah.
I don't want to make. And now, when I came gay, I'm like, I gotta make cat. I'm the boy.
Yeah.
Look on top of it. I'm like, what? I couldn't even be the girl lesbian. Like I would have been the girl one.
Yep.
Now I gotta be the boy one. I gotta go work. And so now, once I committed that I have to go work, I fucking work.
Yeah.
But it always felt like the harder thing came at me.
Did you like girls growing up?
No. That's the thing, too. It's like, maybe I'm not even gay. Like, here's the whole thing, too. First of all, I was around Jewish boys. I was like, okay. So that's pretty much lesbians. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, wow.
I went to a lesbian school. They all, like if you look at Jewish boys and you look at the non-Jewish boys, smaller for long. And this is, by the way, do not come at me, Jews. I don't check my email. I don't care. Okay? You've confused me with someone who cares. But no, they were kind of like, I wasn't sexual for even though I was like, I literally gave hand jobs all the time. Let me just open that.
Shouts out to a good hand job.
Yeah. And good is maybe an over. I use no lube, no spit, nothing. It's a friction-filled hand job.
Wow.
And they came back for more. They were desperate in those times.
Like, hey, you got any more of those hand jobs?
Yeah. But I almost wasn't sexual. It was more of like an attention thing. I loved, I loved chilling, hanging out.
Yeah.
I still love all that, minus the hand jobs. But I really wasn't sexual. I kind of was like this, and I was more into fun, and I really liked school, and I really just liked my friend. I just wasn't sexual for so long, and then I met a girl in Dawson College, this Catholic girl who had a cross over her bed, and she lived at home in like the type of house that had like plastic covering everything.
Wow.
Oh.
And I lived in my own apartment, and I would say, why do we have to sleep here with a cross on? Like, I understand we're doing lesbian, but it's like we don't have to defile, we don't have to like insult the man. I mean, there's literally Jesus on top of the bed. I'm like, I don't feel I have my own apartment, but she was very big on like splitting our time. Like she
How old were
wanted
you
to
then?
like 17 or 18.
Okay.
And then her parents thought I turned her gay, even though I was very feminine presenting at the time. The bitch is like graffitiing all over the city. I'm like, she obviously turned me gay. She would like graffiti buildings in Montreal that were like beautiful. Like, the 300-year-old buildings. And I would say to her, I'm like, you think you're adding to this gorgeous piece of architecture with your little tag? Because she would say, like, look out for the cops. I'm like, I'm going to call the cops. Like, I'm the kind of person.
I'll call the cops.
Like, I'm not looking out.
So that's the first girl you were attracted to, pretty much, that you met.
Yeah, the first girl we taught. Yeah, because my dad was sending me. We were kind of on and off. My dad, I didn't really have a relationship, but I was desperate for money, for $200. And my dad he would send me $200. I was putting myself through. Again, I'm like just on my own. And my dad was going to send me $200 to Western Union. And I didn't know what it was. And she was like, I know where the Western Union is. She smoked a ton of pot. I'm like, now I know why she knew. But she walked me to it. We picked up the money. I felt really good to have some money. And we went to the Starbucks above a bookstore, the Chapters in Montreal. And we spoke for so long. I remember, very cute experience. I remember writing her name in Hebrew for her and things like that. And we dated, but she really wanted to be public. Mm-hmm. And I was I wasn't sure. And I'm like, no. Like, I remember we were waiting on the platform for the subway after school one day. And she was like, hold my hand. I'm like, at the school I'm like, not even a chance. What are you, fucking gay? Like, I'm like, get away from me. And like, she was like, if you don't hold my hand, I'm going to get onto that subway car without you. And I'm like, fucking go.
Wow.
I'm like, there's not even a prayer. And then we were outed, and it was a really bad, because my friends were not cool. Like, my friends, we were all sheltered Jewish kids. Like, even though, gay was accepted, this is like literally, I don't know, 2012. I don't know what year this is. Like, obviously gay is accepted, but it's not. In my community, it was still conservative. It wasn't ultra orthodox. It was still conservative Jewish mentality where there was not. Plus, on top of it, I was the girl who, like, we had one dyke that I knew. This girl who would come in, so she would come into the cafeteria. I'm like, look at that dyke. Like, that was me.
Wow.
Like, I was doing this shit, and I didn't want to be the girl who walks into the cafeteria and they're like, there's the dyke.
Yeah.
And so I had the classic, like, internalized homophobia and stuff. By the way, still gay and ashamed to the day I die.
Wow.
I don't celebrate Pride. I'm not doing nothing. Okay. Proud of what? Proud of what? Gay and ashamed to the day I die. And that's the way gay should be. That's the way I like it. A little bit of humbleness. Listen, it's not for everyone. Stop pitching it for everyone, okay?
Did you told your parents obviously back then or no?
Yeah, I did. I told my mother was cool with it, and then my mother joined another religion, and so she's not cool with it. My mother's addicted to cults. Like, people fall in love with people. My mother loves that community.
Damn, how many has she been in?
Yeah,
she's been a couple now, but you know what? I feel she's on the way out. Well, she had 10 kids for the Hasidic Jewish cause. It's funny. My mother always says, if you asked her how many kids, I'm like, how many kids she wanted. If you asked me, I would have had 1 or 2. I'm like, don't tell me that. I'm 7.
You're 7th on the lineup.
Like, it's an insane thing.
How incredible is she? How incredible is she on the microphone?
Oh, she's great.
Because most people don't talk on the mic. Like, I just got to give you a shout out because you're like moving the mic to your mouth. I love that. People don't talk on the mic. You're professional.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for that.
I love to. You know what? Thank you for acknowledging that.
Nobody
and
does that.
Why I like you acknowledging that is we love talk. We have an appreciation for talk. There's so many people talking who should not be talking.
Yeah.
And I take it personally because it is an art. It's an ancient art. It's one of the first things, like expressing yourself and talking. Now everybody gets to talk, and there's no deciphering between good talking and bad talking. We know how to talk. Let us talk. We know how to work the mic. We know how to do our shit. Okay?
I appreciate it.
You know how to bank. You know how to do whatever the hell you do. Do that.
Yeah. Shout out to banking.
So were you a comedy fan in growing up too?
Never.
Wow.
No, I wasn't a fan. Well,
did you watch comedy?
No, not really. We watched, again, Boston Public.
Shout out to Boston Public.
I liked Sex and the City, which I guess is a comedy.
Yeah.
Was that like shocking to watch for you, like back then?
No, because you know what? My mother would put it on Saturday night. I would watch it with her because at this point we were like we were still to everyone else religious, but not nearly as religious as we had grown up. So for us, it was like, yeah, we were kosher. And yes, we did Shabbat and the candles and the Kiddush and all that stuff. But we still watched, like my mother would put it on. And my mother would say it's like her living her 20s again. Because when she was in her 20s, she was having kids. She had 10 kids by 30.
Wow.
Massive vagina. So she didn't get...
By 30?
By 30, she had 10. I'm my mother's 7th. She had me at 27.
And did she remarry and find new love?
No. I think she's I think she's just never... She
Look,
was never
dog, she had
into
10 kids.
I know, I'm saying, but she had like, but she raised it pretty much herself. So it's like, did she find love after that? Like a new man, yeah.
I remember somebody. I think she has a distrust for men, and I couldn't speak to her, and we would have to, I don't want to like speak too much for her, but there was somebody that she dated once. I think she met him at the synagogue singles or whatever, single parenting support group, something like that. And I could be wrong about that even. I was so young when this happened. I was only a teenager. But I remember the guy came to the house, and maybe she dated him a couple times. Jewish guy. Kind of a schlubby guy, which is classic. But do not come out. Okay. And we lived across from a schoolyard.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, like, we would use that as like our backyard type of thing. And we would play baseball and different things in there. And he went out and my mother would always read on the porch. My mother was always reading and watching us outside. And she was like looking over at one point, and my little brother, who I would say, he's on the spectrum. Nobody's diagnosed with anything in my family, so we have to be very careful when talking about this. But if Shalom, if you're listening, something's off, okay? And we were speaking. We were playing this, just baseball or whatever. And something happened where my brother wasn't standing in the right spot. I don't know. We didn't really know the rules of this. We were basketball kids, but this guy's trying to get like a ball game going. And we're like, it's sunny in the outfield. Like, we don't really want, and we're like, can we play basketball in the driveway? Like, literally. So he moved my brother. He was like, stand here. And he moved him by pushing his shoulder, by pushing him into the spot. And my mother came over. I was like, you never touch my kids. And we just all had to go back in the house, and that was the end of that.
Damn.
She just knew when to speak up. Like, she was just not about that. Like, no, I don't care if it's friendly. I don't care. You, like, this was like maybe a third date. I can touch my kids. You can't touch my kids.
Wow.
And that was it. She didn't like how he was to my brother, and we never saw him again or talked about it ever again. Wow. And we moved on. My mother cooked that night. Like, nothing. Like, literally nothing. Just like everybody back in the house. We're like, okay, baseball's over.
Damn.
Yeah, my mother just knew when to lay it down, but she mostly was kind of away from everything. Like, I remember I went on this Shabbaton, which is a weekend away from my school. It's like a religious weekend where all the kids go and we get to sleep over for 2 nights somewhere. And kids like to miss out prayers, miss out lessons, miss out. So we were teenagers, and we all skipped morning prayers and went to go listen to music in somebody's room. And the vice principal came knocking on the door, knock, 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 found us all there. I was like, you're all in trouble. And then she pulls me back. She goes, you of all people. Because I'm on like subsidy at the school. It's like a fancy school, and I shouldn't even be, you of all people. Plus, I came from a more religious background. So I should be more religious still, and I shouldn't break the rule, and I should be lucky I'm there. So I was kind of like chilling at my house, like doing homework at the kitchen table, like maybe a week after this. And my mother was like, how was that Shabbaton I sent you on for 175 Canadian? Like, like, what happened there? Did you make any art? Like, what did you do on that shit? Like, where did the money go? I was like, it's good. We got in trouble. Like, I could tell my mom stuff like that. I was like, we were like sick of the prayers and whatever. And so we went to go listen to music. And then, she pulled me aside and was like, you of all people. My mother was kind of listening, cooking, but she was like, what did she do?
Take a mental note right there. Yeah.
And my mother was like, what happened? And I'm like, oh, we all got in trouble. I was with Shania. I was with all these people. And like, we were listening to music. And then she was like, and I felt bad and kind of like, she's right. And she's like, my mother called the school. My mother never calls anything.
Wow.
She's like, you will not single out my kid. Either help to help or don't help at all. I'll send her to the public school. You were not to mention money with my kid. You're not to mention anything, make her feel othered in any way, shape, or form.
Man.
Your mom's a fucking boss.
Your mom's a G, man.
Right?
Yeah. She just
Fucking
knew
G.
when to speak up, but she's otherwise a very quiet, kind Canadian, just like hardworking lady.
Wow.
Yeah. Never
Is your
really.
mom still with us? She's
Of
here?
course.
How
No,
old is she
shout
now?
out to Ma. She's 62.
Oh, that's young. Wow.
Yeah,
they
come
didn't
on,
shit
young.
shit things.
Yeah.
62. That's young, man. That's incredible.
I
Your
could
mom's
be
a
wrong on
legend,
that. She could be
man.
60 or 60. She's between 60 to 62. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ma. She gets it wrong, too. We were celebrating her 56th birthday. And then she goes, my sister goes, can I see your card? And my sister goes, you're 55.
62.
She goes,
That's
no,
so
let me see that. Let me see that. And we're looking at
Wow.
my mother's ID. It's like, you're 55, Ma. It's,
She's born in 61 then? I
No.
guess if she's... Oh, well,
maybe
you don't...
she's in six. Yeah.
So after you graduated, you did that CPA program, and then you quit like the first day or something?
Yeah. Yeah. You
'Cause
betcha.
You want to do writing and comedy and stuff?
Well, no, I went into I wanted more. I quit because, yes, that I just knew I wasn't going to go long term with it,
Yeah.
and then I got a finance job. I worked in investment banking for 8 months, and I made just a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
A
and
stressful job?
I'm very stressful, but I'm very motivated by money, and I
'Kay.
enjoy it. And at the time, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I was the only lesbian I knew who had even $1. But all the girls I went to school with, they all came from Connecticut to upstate New York. Like their
Yeah.
parents are paying for McGill. Like they're rich kids and they don't have any money. So here I am, the poor kid, but making, I had an internship at a fancy firm and then I was doing banking and I'm like, shots. Like I'm like
Damn.
living up, like, and they're all studying women's studies and gender studies. And I'm going, you're not going to make any money. What is even the point? I wouldn't do comedy. Like there's nothing. I am solely motivated.
Yeah.
I can't be poor in art. Like I am not motivated by poverty. The starving artist thing, I don't enjoy it. I don't like to be poor. So the motivation not to be poor, I think, is a big drive for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So were you writing most of your life? Were you journaling? Were you writing stuff?
I wrote in high school. I wasn't considered a smart kid in high school, even though I was smart.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like I got 70s and I got like 60s and 70s. So I don't know. In high school we do it 100, like over 100. So what's 60s? Maybe it's like D's.
That's like a D.
That's like a D, yeah.
Right? D's and C's.
Yeah,
And
Ds and
then
Cs.
ninth grade, Mr. Nathanson, who I think was dodging the Vietnam War, so was teaching Canadian history in Canada. He had a very sketchy, you could never really... And he wanted to make some list in the Canadian school board that was like the 100 best, Canadian history teachers or something. Yeah. So he wanted our class to do really well in the exam. So he offered $100 of his own money, I think, to every kid who gets 100 on the exam.
Wow.
Because this probably affected his promotion or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, $100? It's like a crisp 100. I memorized every fucking date. Okay. I got 100 on the exam.
Wow.
I got $100. And it's the first time I was like, whoa, I did it.
Yeah.
I think 11 of us got 100 out of the whole out of the whole
Wait, this
grade,
is
maybe 60
college.
kids. No, this is in high school.
High
ninth
school,
grade.
okay.
Wow.
From then on, I only got A's. I never thought I could do it.
Yeah.
Never even attempted doing it. You give me $100 for more money than I ever could have thought at the time, and I did it. And that's when it started to click that, I can do stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was always wild, a lot, I'm talking this much now. I always enjoyed to talk. My whole family likes to talk, and I always was kind of a loud kid, and that didn't coincide with being a smart kid. But I think low-key I started getting recognition. I had teachers who noticed my writing and things like that. And it really helped me. But then, again, when it was the prospect... Because my mother said, with university, not everybody's built for school. My mother never pushed school because of how expensive it was.
Yeah.
And my mother would prefer that people go get... My brothers, kind of get trades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they did. I have 2 brothers, are construction workers and stuff like that. But my mother didn't believe in just pouring money to school if you weren't there. Now, I was academic and I did do well at it, but my mother said, I can't pay for none of that.
Yeah.
And, when I got into McGill, it's the only school I applied to. I wrote a letter. And that's it, because I said either I get into a school like that or I don't go to school at all. In fact, I had a teacher who said that they wanted to put me at Yale. Like this drama teacher, he would... Because it was a very fancy school. So he would teach something or do some summer program at Yale for the first years. And he said he could get my letter. Like, he would either write me a letter. I forget what it was at the time. If I applied to Yale, he'll let them look at my application, something like that. But then I looked up the application fee was $60 USD. I'm like, that's out. I never applied. He was like, what did you do? I was like, $60 USD. Are you out of your mind? It's 87 Canadian.
Wow.
Like, who's got the money?
Yeah.
And I just applied to McGill because it was free. It was there. And if I got in, I would qualify for, subsidy. And then I ended up getting a scholarship. But my mother, the day I got in, I was like, Mom, I'm starting McGill and tomorrow and whatever. And then she was like, I can't help with that. But so when I got into McGill, it was like, what's the least amount of school I could do for the most amount of payoff? And that's where accounting came in. They were like, they'll give you a job this summer if you do well enough. And I knew that if I study, I do well. Yeah. I knew that I could do school because of that $100 that I did. So I'm like, this shit wasn't that hard. I just did it. I hated it, but I did it. And that wasn't even that bad. So I was like, I can make money this summer. And I got an internship where I think they paid me $10,000. They give you money for clothing.
Wow.
It's fucking living my shit. But I had to keep it under wraps in the dyke community. They don't want to know that you're into finance. And, these are rich kids purporting to be poor. Because I'm like a white regular kid at the school, some of the potlucks and the shit that I was, because I'd be like, why are we potlucking? You all have money. Let's go out.
Yeah.
But they're all like trying to be poor and pretending to be poor. And it freaked me out that these rich kids.
Yeah, it's
so weird.
I want to say that's like more so our generation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where that's like really popular.
Like the struggling and going to school and like
yes, because I've known a lot of kids like that, as far as like that come from like wealth, but it's
like rich guilt.
It's like they want to like downplay themselves to where they don't. Like I remember for the longest time, one of my friends, he was telling everybody he was driving like an old like an '89 Honda, but meanwhile he didn't have an '89 Honda, but he just wanted to say that because it was like
it's obscene.
It's like a weird thing, and I'm sitting here. What? Why?
You're making it weird.
Yeah, you're making it so weird.
We just want you to be rich, like my friend Ryan.
Yeah, and it's okay to
be rich.
That's
fine. Trust fund kids too. They're always hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my friend Ryan, he would let me just use his shit. He grew up in a mansion with a movie theater and whatever. Like, why are you friends with? He's like, sometimes I feel like you use me for my stuff. I'm like, I absolutely do. The fuck? That's the point of this shit. You use me for my hot takes and all this stuff. I bring a lot of personality, and you got good food and a pool. Like,
we're meeting
I don't
halfway.
even understand what the issue is. But yeah, like I would be a fly on the wall. Some people would assume that's my thing. And I remember there were so many social justice kids talking, a lot of these people studying, again, gender critical theory, which is fine and all good. Or a lot of people were studying, ironically enough, to be social workers and help either low-income communities or things like that. And they would always talk about what they thought like low-income people needed. And it would just be so funny. I'm like, we don't want you. We just want your money. It's so simple.
Yeah.
You're like, this type of program. No, we want you to literally shave off. And as we get more money, when I have money, I'm like, I'm not giving away shit. So it's so funny that you get to be in the predicament. But it is a predicament. But that still doesn't change the fact that that's what we want you to do. The solution is to share what you have. Okay, and now you're going around, beating around the bush, making all this programming that no poor kid wants to go sit at after school.
True.
Yeah.
Like, what? I got to sit now for 2 more hours?
Yeah.
Everybody else got home.
You know what's funny about all those programs and shit? I'm like, man, we're all still poor.
Yeah.
Like, it just like, I'm like, what does this program do?
We don't have new shoes. Like, I don't have the shit I want. I'm like, I literally want fucking Air Jordans. I want LA Gears that light up.
Yeah.
Like, is this program going to give me those?
Yeah.
If it's not the light up shoes, what are we talking about? It's just so weird.
How long did you do the investment banking for?
Just like 8 months a year. It was very shady investment banking. We were selling like high interest loans. Very, very shady. Very classic of Montreal kind of endeavors. But really good money. And then but I wouldn't
Wait, what year was this?
I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe
2016?
2014. I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh, got it.
I have no clue.
Around that time, 14 to 16, I think.
13, 14, 15.
Only reason why I was asking because I thought it was like during the when the market had crashed really bad. I didn't know if because you said
when I graduated.
Because you said high interest loans.
Oh yeah.
That's
No,
why.
but I definitely wasn't part of the solution for that. 8 months. But I was good at sales and I was selling money basically. That's what we were doing.
Okay.
And I just again very motivated by money.
Yeah.
And because it did make my life easier to have money.
Yeah.
The stress did increase, but like the stress of not having $200 is just, or P collections calling you when I was 17 or 18 because I didn't pay my electricity or this and that, and getting the thing put on my electricity box and like having to call them, and then there's an extra fee like that I still don't trade that. And then getting to be like, I'm going to keep my heat on all the time. And I would do that. I'm like, even if I'm in the kitchen once to get a glass of water in the middle of the night, the heat is going to be on. That's what I would do. In Montreal, it's like,
it's so cold there.
Yeah. And I do appreciate Montrealers aren't as stingy with their heat. When you go to other cold places, you go to Chicago, you go to Toronto, you go into places it's still cold. In Montreal, you go into a bar, you go into a restaurant, they're blasting that heat.
Yeah.
We don't stinge around with the heat.
Yeah.
It's cozy in there.
Are you doing stand-up comedy at that point or no?
Yeah, I started stand-up just after that when I quit. Yeah, so I started stand-up. I guess I heard, I started stand like Montreal had the Just for Laughs festival, but Montreal doesn't have like a really big local stand-up scene. People would assume it, but the festival is actually this international separate thing to the city that brings in like tourism.
Yeah.
But that's where I started seeing stand-up, and I was like, oh, I got some shit to say. But I feel very lucky that I wasn't like, I never idolized stand-ups growing up or knew much about them. We didn't really... Yeah, I didn't grow up like with a ton of comedy.
Like
I would say my brothers,
my
brothers maybe knew, my older brothers maybe knew some of that.
Yeah.
But I hated my brothers and I didn't really want to know from them. But later on, like my brother Shmuley's always like, Patrice O'Neill, like, and I didn't know anything with Patrice O'Neill.
That's his favorite.
Yeah.
You turned me on to him. He's
so
incredible.
I got to go back and watch, but I don't know any Patrice O'Neill. But my brother loves him.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So it's like my family loves like we just didn't, you know what I mean? And especially in the early years, we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So
you just saw you saw some comic.
I just heard of it as a job almost, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was visiting two friends who were out east, and I was having a delicious Indian meal with them, which I was very new to Indian food, and I still have it like once a month. I enjoy it, but
Nice.
And we were just laughing, and I was telling stories about my mother or whatever, and I was on without knowing I was on, which now is like, I know how annoying it is, and I also don't care about it now. But, and I just said, matter of fact, like, I think I'm going to try stand-up comedy. And my friends, they didn't flinch. They weren't like, that was crazy. They were like, yeah, sounds like definitely something.
Wow.
They were right away like, that makes a lot of sense. And then I just started that week.
That week?
Yeah, I went to the only club or one of two clubs they had in Montreal. I said, where's the best place to bomb or to not like to try out? And there was this guy's loft, and it was like all cigarettes and smoke. And,
wow.
And I was very young, and these guys were like in their 30s at the time, which felt really like the grown-up guys. Like, oh my God. I brought my two little high school friends who were Jewish girls. Like, we're like, it looks sketchy. They're like, it looks really sketchy. And like people were smoking and doing alcohol. I was very, very, we snuck Manischewitz and orange juice when I was a kid. Like we were really good kids, and I was very studious and whatever. Even though I was living like a hard, independent life, I was still on the path, school, work,
weren't partying like crazy,
but yeah, I did it. I was very dizzy the first time, the smoke, and I literally could say one joke, but also the nerves looking back. And I was like, sorry, I'm really dizzy and I have to sit down. And then I went and I sit down. And then I went up to the host after. Shout out to Morgan O'Shea. I went up to him in Montreal. I said, oh, I'm feeling much better after going outside and having some water. Do you think I could finish? I have 4 more minutes.
That's hilarious.
No way.
And he goes, no, it's over. You got to come back next week. And I'm like, no, but I didn't even I didn't do the time.
Wow.
I'm like getting into an altercation with him,
Yeah.
not even real. Like he runs this one show. So I come back the next week. I'm like, I'm here to do my 5 minutes. Okay. And he's like, okay, well, you go up when you go up. Puts me up, and I was there every week.
Wow.
It was excellent. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
You get
yeah.
used to the smoke too?
I just would not drink there. Like I would not like with, because in the beginning they're like, have a shot with us. And I kind of like never do. I was like, like when I had shots, it was like after I'd come back from summer camp and we've all passed out taking tequila shots to, like not with grown men, like at the back table where they're smoking. It just felt really scary.
Yeah.
Were you performing stuff for your friends and trying things out? Or you
No.
just, wow. Looking in the mirror and stuff? No. Wow. Just going for it.
We're the same with the
Same?
Well, in the sense of not really knowing comedy at all.
Okay.
Really, like I didn't really like. I knew like Dave Chappelle's Killing Him Softly, Eddie Murphy Raw, in Kings of Comedy and stuff. But I didn't think of it as like that's something that anybody could do. I thought they did it because they were in movies.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think of it as like I didn't think comedy was something you like that you had to like train for. I thought they just had these acts that they do these live shows and they make people laugh. I didn't know it was like a thing where you got to start off in an open mic and build your way and to becoming successful at it. I didn't think there was.
But it's also it's also a good thing in a way. Like I came in like. We came in kind of raw, which a lot of people do, but I didn't have an influence. Like people go, well, what's an influence? Like I just came from what I wanted to say. Some of the things that I've heard about me, like, early on was like, whether it was my material or whatever, but it's like that so many comedians are looking for their voice. But one of the first things I had was my voice. So it was like kind of the opposite. It's like, it doesn't really matter. What I realize is it doesn't really matter what I'm talking about as long as I'm talking about it through my lens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that a lot of people who, and it's not the same. It's like, I just had nothing to say. I didn't know who my influence was. I didn't know anything. I was just going in kind of blank slate, which I think in the end was a good thing for me because I didn't feel pressure to take it one way or another. I could just, my voice was the only thing I had.
Yeah.
And then just, material came through that.
Yeah. Then you were Comedy Central was up next, comedian in 2018. I'm sure there's stuff before that too.
The Clusterfest?
Yes, I did Clusterfest. So fun.
Yo, we did the same shit.
one?
Oh, we did?
Well, no, I wasn't 2018. I was the next year.
Oh, you were?
I was 2019 Clusterfest and then 2019 New Faces.
Yeah, you can't be walking around San Francisco, though. What a shithole that city is.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
So you start doing that. You start doing that all the
Scary.
time and just building up your name and putting and people start hearing about you.
Yeah, I'm still doing it all the time. Putting
Yeah,
my name.
for
People
sure.
like nobody is hungrier than me.
Are you
Like-
was it YouTube to post videos on back then?
See, the thing is I don't I also am so old school. I make my money writing and doing stand up.
Okay.
I almost do nothing else.
Okay.
I'm very I don't know how to do the video. That's why something like Don't Tell, they do the video. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Terrific. Because I'm not learning the editing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that. You
Do
come
it all
and you
for you,
see
yeah.
me. Okay. They want to do it. Great. Like my special I put out with Just for Laughs. They did it. They're like,
I'm
you want to do
nervous.
an hour?
Yeah.
Now when people ask me for an hour, I was like, if you want to send the camera people and you want to do that, and that's the conversation we're having. Like, I'm not going to even though I love people who do that. Shane Gillis put out his own special on YouTube. I thought it was terrific. And I love that gusto and that thing to do, but it's just not where my wheelhouse is.
Mm-hmm.
My wheelhouse is really the stand-up writing and now acting a bit too.
Awesome.
So I really, when I bring on something new, I take on everything I do so seriously.
Yeah.
I really commit to it. And it's kind of like the no-frills parenting style my mother,
Yeah.
kind of gifted me. It's like, we're going to keep these kids fed, sheltered, and educated, period.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do my writing, stand-up, acting, period.
What did your mom think when you stopped doing the investment banking and that you're going to be...
She doesn't know anything about work. She has no clue about money. She's also very into the arts and culture. My mother doesn't care about money, which is really interesting. Like I wouldn't say she took a vow of poverty, but part of living in the community she lived in is like there's really like not a a glorification of money, and that's why I'm more obsessed with it, because I'm like, well, you're not thinking about it. Look what everybody else has.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe a little thought when you have 10 kids. I'm not asking for much.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have 10 kids, let's give it a little thought. It doesn't have to be a priority. I understand, but it's like
a little.
Come on,
something.
you didn't ask us.
Yeah. She wasn't tripping on you being a comedian?
No, she loves art, comedy. That's what I'm saying. Even though I didn't grow up with like a specific, my mother, you know, Woody Allen movies, movies in general, books. You know, my mother's a crazy reader. I don't read at all. I find it boring personally, but I always wanted to get into it.
I'm a crappy reader too.
Yeah, my mother,
I read.
Yeah, I want to read, but I'm asleep too. Like,
I can't do
what
it,
are we
man.
gonna do? I'm asleep too. I love movies. I try to go to a matinee once a week.
I love movies.
I love to. So it's like, and I love documentaries. I love to learn.
Yeah.
And I love learning through talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Reading is not. I'm asleep. Like, how do you guys?
I like audiobooks.
I don't know. I just.
He reads a lot, and I wish I could be like you. How you read every day and you journal every day. I guess envious. I wish I could have that attention span to like read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah, I can't
it's
listen.
really
I can't do no
brain.
audiobooks or anything. Like, it has to be like I have to like read the words.
Yeah.
I think, but also like I'm
so good for your brain,
I'm a
dude.
visual learner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, if I see the words instead of just like hearing it like through some audiobook, then I'm all fucking checked out.
Yeah, I hate when people say they read a book and it was an audiobook. Because it's like, what, you think you're better than me?
I know,
like,
right?
Tell me you listen to the shit.
Yeah.
Again, just don't hide whatever whatever you are, rich, poor, literate, not literate. I'm with you for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, like that is what I want.
Yeah, let that be.
I love the I'm Nervous special. It was great. I watched it. It
Oh,
was awesome.
thank you. Thank you.
It's really good. I like the whole New York pride thing too. How people like how much they love New York, and I can relate. It was awesome.
It's like, who cares?
Yeah. And then Chris Gethard, it's crazy because we talked, whenever I talked to you about it, I didn't realize it's the same guy who has told a story about me several times on his podcast. I met him when he was a small kid at a punk rock show in New Jersey. And he always tells the story. And you told me about him telling the story because then Chris Carrabba from Dashboard Confessional talked about it. But I want to give him a shout out because I hit him up the other day. I told him you were coming on. He's like, oh, my God, how much he loves you. And, he was like a small kid, and he was at a punk show, and he was sitting in the corner, and it was his first show. We were playing that night. And I came into the room, and I saw him, and I was like, and he was going through something. I didn't even know who he was. And I was like, hey, you good, man? You all good? And he knew I was a singer of the band that was going to play later on. And we had this moment where I talked to him, and he always talks about that.
Oh, that's dope.
And how it stuck with him his whole life. So shout out to Chris Gethard. It's cool. It's such a small world because you wrote for him for so long.
Yeah. No,
Awesome.
I applied cold to that job. It was the kind of thing that I was new with my manager, and I never really done a packet. And they were like, oh, do a packet. And I submitted a psychotic packet, and I didn't watch his show, nor was a fan.
Okay.
I watched one episode. I watched the Lena Dunham episode because I like her. And then I was like, what? I don't even really want, I don't know if I want to work on. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't really, and then so that was also good because I didn't do too much research. I just put my ideas on the page. I sent it and I got hired, and he thought that I was some boy from Canada because my name Robby Hoffman. It's a blind packet. And it ended up being a great experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
They did it for a while. So you did the Odd Squad before that?
Yes, at some point before that, much before that.
Yeah. So you did Chris Gethard for a while, huh? Right?
Yeah. We were on for a couple seasons. It was really, really fun. Very out of the box. He was a little whiny bitch a bunch. And I would call him out on that, and we had a good rapport that way.
And they did something together, like it was like Chris Gethard presents Robby Hoffman.
Well, here's what happened. He would always ask for big ideas, right? He would say, the studio wants big ideas, this type of thing. Really think out of the box.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? You want big ideas? Let's replace the host with Robby Hoffman. Okay. And he would get insecure about that because he knew his time was limited. So white guy, whatever, going on the sad comedy, I'm white and privileged, and so I'm sad. Okay. And how long, right? He was like the last crew of doing that. Okay. And I'm just teasing you, Chris. This is how I love. I love by bringing you. Okay, this is the way it is. But he was, so I would tell him things like that. I would say, Chris, how much longer? You're on borrowed time. Okay, what they want is a queer, okay, girl. Like, it's me. I'm the next, I'm the future. So let's just cut it now and give me the show. And finally, and he got in on it because he's a good sport, we, on his, when we did like a spin-off of the Chris Gethard show, I got to do the Chris Gethard show, crossed out his name with new host Robby Hoffman.
Awesome.
And I would say it's probably a better episode than any episode he's ever done of his show.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was my first guest on the show.
And people loved it.
People loved it. Yeah, I had him and my cousin Daniel Latofsky as guests.
Amazing. And so, in the Robby Hoffman Consulting, is that something you still do, the advice show?
No, I did that in the pandemic because people go, did you miss stand-up in the pandemic? No. Okay. If stand-up's happening, I'm doing stand-up. If it's not happening, I'm not doing it. I'm writing and I have other things to do. This was a way, I did some Zoom shows, but I wasn't like the panic that a lot of people had that I'm going to make stand-up online. I'm like, if it dies forever, I'll do something else. If it doesn't, I didn't think anything dies forever anyway. As soon as the pandemic happened, I invested in cruise lines because I knew that Americans would want deals. So it's like nothing is dead forever. And so I just did it was a perfect medium. Gethard offered me, he had me call into his show a couple times, and it was always the most successful part of his show.
Wow.
And so he said, if you want your own, him again being the most benevolent and the most charitable to me, and me only bringing him down. Just to give you, it's a tough love approach. But he was like, seriously, like just, we have the infrastructure taking calls. And so I created the Robby Hoffman Consulting Group, which is one-stop shop. I can give you advice from fashion to finance to dating to debt to whatever. Yeah. And probably advice better than any therapy. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to, whatever it is. It's like, I had this trans woman call in who became a friend of the show at some point. But like, there was a trans woman who... and we had many people who called in and became friends of the show, and we called in multiple times, but called in about something about passing, that if she doesn't shave her face, she still wants to like keep a beard, but she wants to pass as a woman. I said, you can't do that. So that's over. So you got to pick. Okay. Like, you're not calling me with nonsense. Yeah. Okay. I understand the predicament, but now you have to pick. You don't get everything you want. Nobody gets everything they want. Goodbye. So we gave some very straight up advice. And but as soon as the pandemic ended, so did the show. It's not the right I'm not keeping these things on forever. People are like, why don't you do it anymore? I'm like, because online's over. Yeah. Yeah. I was the same person that when I did the pandemic for 3 months. Okay.
That's it? You were out here during it? You were in LA?
Yeah, I was here until it really closed, and then when it opened other places, I did stand up other places.
That's what you're doing too. You're traveling everywhere during that.
Yeah, it was,
Texas, Florida.
If it was open.
Yeah, you were going everywhere.
Yeah, you
stayed busy with that, Chappelle.
The whole time.
As I cough with COVID here.
No, it's okay. So you were traveling during that too, doing stuff.
No, but the thing is like, because it was like reading about, after 3 months. They were saying if you're young, you're healthy, you could get COVID and, and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's me. Yeah. I am of young, growing up poor, there's so many things I was shut out of. I couldn't pay for this. I couldn't do this. You're shut out. I'm not. Yeah. So I'm going to not be shut out. Like, this is where I win. So I don't understand that. I had people text me like, you're going to do this show? I'm like, you better believe I'm going to do this show. Yeah. So I just, it was one of the few things where I'm like, oh my God, I fit the category. Yeah. I got dyke girl, whatever. Like, I'm like, it's me. Oh my God, I'm in the main category. Like, I couldn't even believe it.
I'm in it.
I'm like, I get the privileged category. I'm fucking doing the shit. So I was with you. I was like fucking Arkansas, Florida, wherever.
Yeah, wow. Most random places.
It.
You everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you still writing during the pandemic for people?
Yeah, I sold my show during the pandemic. It was like a perfect opportunity.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just like, again, it was one of those things that I didn't panic for some reason. Even though I'm anxious with all little things, major calamities, I go, I expected that. Yeah. That sounded like, like short of the Holocaust happening again, like I'm always waiting for a knock. I have my bags packed. I'm ready to go to the camp. Like, I am ready for the knock. Yeah. So if it's not that, I'm like, actually could be worse.
Yeah.
Were you nervous doing comedy during that or no? Neither of
No.
you both were doing. Were nervous traveling doing that? Yeah.
No, because it's basically what she just said.
Yeah.
Like it's like what you. Okay, I'm young, they said that, so it's like
Chappelle. And I'm not saying this for you, but the elephant in the room. You and I were in slightly different positions.
true.
It's just the size thing, and you're a hefty. No, and I'm not saying just because I care for you and I love you, and you've really tightened up. But I'm just saying that there was a point where maybe
tightened up a lot though.
you were on the edge of that category.
Edge of it.
So I'm a little worried. Yeah.
We got it together.
Just because I love you, I love you.
No.
But I'm worried about you. You know what I mean? There's certain people. It was a very small window of people who could, and I was in that window, and I couldn't even believe it.
Do you guys feel like comedy is thriving more than ever now, coming out of the dark couple years, and people want to laugh and want to be out? And
I don't know. It's like weird. I think it's all in what you make it. I don't think I can speak for comedy as a whole.
Right.
I know I don't speak for anyone else when it comes to it.
Yeah.
I can speak for myself. I'm doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Chappelle's killing.
But other than that, like I can't really speak for anyone else. It's like weird. Like I mean, I went and did the University of Rochester.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I went up there, did my set. They loved it or whatever. They had a blast with me and all that shit. And meanwhile, I didn't realize that was like one of the most like liberal schools ever. But I guess because some comedians are,
You're very
terrified
liberal.
to do
You're
stand-up.
very liberal.
Am I?
Yeah, well, you're like, you talk, yeah.
But I don't like have a view or like I don't have any hot takes or I kind of keep to myself when it comes to that stuff. But meanwhile, like as far as that goes, like
you're wearing an Oasis T-shirt.
That is true. I've heard a lot of comedians say they don't like doing. That is me. I've heard a lot of comedians say they don't like doing colleges,
right?
Because they just. But meanwhile, I can't speak for all those other comedians because I seem to do really good at them. Yeah, I do them. But like I said, it's kind of weird to speak it as a whole because comedy is such a wide range.
Yeah,
I agree, and I take back that you're liberal. I think we're very similarly built. Not physically speaking, but emotionally, or in terms of comedy, for the reason that, I agree that we both do everything. Like, people would think, you in Florida? I'm like, yeah, I do Florida. Like, they're like, some queer, I cut my tits out. I'm like, they don't care. I will talk to anyone. I do colleges, I do clubs. I've always done alt and clubs. Mm-hmm. I've always done, I don't want to pitch myself into a habit of thinking that I can't do this type of thing because these people they're just people. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know what I do. So that's what I do. These people, I don't have to think about them. I can just think about what I'm doing and do it anywhere I want to do. The people who shut themselves off from that actually limit their opportunities, in my opinion. And that is okay to limit your opportunities. If you only want to do certain markets and kill in those markets, again, like what you were saying, that's your prerogative. Yeah. I want to reach as many people as humanly possible 100%. By doing what I do. Yeah. And not thinking about you. Yeah. If you have a thing, that's on you. I'm just thinking about I want to talk to you. Whoever you are, I want to talk to you.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Same thing with music, traveling.
Yeah. I mean, when I went to Springfield, Missouri, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. Meanwhile, I loved it. I was like, man, I'd film a special here. It was that much fun.
Just getting out there and seeing the world and seeing other people.
Yeah, I think when you travel, you get a better idea of what the fuck is up. But if you don't, and you just kind of stay in this one lane and in your own little world, then it kind of it does pigeonhole you to where you only have this one way of thinking. Yeah,
and people think all these certain states all think a certain way. It's not like that.
And it's not like that.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trash and there's a lot of not trash.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying there's two sides. Listen, there's trash, but it's people who are coming out to see you, and maybe some of the people who come out to see you, they weren't expecting what would be, and they're like, I actually liked her. If you meet me, it's hard to not, really like me if you're meeting me. Yeah. So it's maybe not that I'm even into changing. It's just you don't have to like everything. I don't have to like working everywhere. I just like to work I'm just not making a rule before I get there about, I only do this, I only do that. I am open to what I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Always.
Yeah.
You guys met through just pure conversation.
Totally. 100%. Yeah, I love that. And your special, did that put you at a different level, dropping your first special in that way?
You know, it was a Canadian special, so it was stuck there for a while.
Yeah.
But then it started circulating, like kind of itself underground. People were saying, where can I watch this here? Where can I watch this? And they released it to YouTube, finally. Awesome. It was like another leg of a deal that they had to do. But for some reason, Canadian broadcasting, they couldn't get it out of Canada. And then there was enough people sharing it illegally.
Oh, wow.
That they wanted to get in on that.
Awesome.
So they made it available for free on YouTube now. But it's a very it's my first, the first time I ever did an hour was that hour.
Okay.
I'd never done an hour. I recorded the hour. I had one time to shoot it.
Wow.
And we got it. And it was just very classic stand-up. You know, it's again, bare bones.
Yeah.
It's just, there's not a lot going on. It's just an hour of pure and then, so now for an American debut or some of the conversations were happening, I can dance a little bit more or, flare out a bit or have more fun with it. This was the kind of thing that's like, hey, do you want to do an hour? We'll pay you and we'll bring the camera. I'm like, sure, here's an hour.
That's cool.
And it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And I like just putting all that material in one place because I probably make an hour a year and I don't always record and I lose a lot of material that, I'm not doing it anymore or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to maybe just get the material out or get whatever. So, I'm always, it's funny. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a very classic, it's almost a throwback the way that it is. And I enjoy that not much thought went into it and it really worked out.
And so for both of you, is Netflix like not a goal, but to have a comedy special on Netflix or HBO or something like that? Is that anything in your heads at all?
You could do a special anywhere.
Anywhere, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't like
even
there's
YouTube.
I don't think anyone has like. I guess if with Netflix, I mean, they're starting to give like these deals to like certain comedians to where it's like you sign a $60 million deal, blah blah blah. But I mean, you could do. I don't know. It's just so weird because you could do whatever you want. Like Shane Gillis put his special out on YouTube.
Yeah. And
Shane Gillis sells out everywhere he goes.
True facts.
I mean,
he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He sells out, internationally. I mean, he was just in Australia and freaking selling out his stuff. And meanwhile, like, that's not a Netflix special. Mm-hmm. That special is on YouTube that he put out. Yeah. That he put the money up for. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like you could.
I feel like anything you think of as being the pinnacle of what you would want, I do want. So yeah, I would love a Netflix special. I would love an HBO special. I want the coolest cachet, biggest shit you could think of.
Okay, I respect that.
There's no question. Like I dream. Like I don't limit my dreams at all. Like I want if I'm here, we are fucking going. I look at my 7-year-old girl self and I go, Rob, I got you. I am trying to take you as far as we can.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm doing what I can for you. You got to bear with me, but I don't want to let little 7-year-old me down. I'm like, listen, we're working. You're doing as much as we can, Rob. Mm-hmm. I'm taking us as far as we can go.
That's awesome.
And I just don't want to I never want to say, oh, maybe we won't do that. Or I'm saying we're going to try for everything. We're going to see what we get. We're not going to, we're going to really try and give it a go.
That's amazing. That Don't Tell comedy, that's what it is. When yours went viral and crazy, was it Don't Tell comedy?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And that's this independent thing.
Yeah, that's not like a corporate thing.
And I love that too. Like I would,
that's don't
do that. Like some people are like, would you go on Rogan or this? I'm like, absolutely. Like you think
Robbie
of
said,
any big thing,
give it to me.
I want big, small, independent studio. Like I just don't even want to think in those terms. I just want to we are going to take this and get our voice out there to the most that we can.
You know what? I think you just inspired me by hearing those kind of words, because it's like, yeah, fuck it. If you get a big fucking TV show, you get a big fucking TV show.
That's it.
If you get it, it's like, why stop it if that's what organically came? You know what I mean?
I didn't want to limit my I don't even want to.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Like I'm just going to do the best work that I can do.
Yep.
And inspire myself and feel all of like, because the biggest luxury of what we do and what I do for me, and I don't want to speak for you or you, is that I get to wake up and love what I'm doing.
Yep.
I hated working those jobs.
Even though it's a lot of money.
Yes. It's like, but now I get to make a lot of making a great living doing this is a miracle. I'm grateful for it. And I work hard to keep this miracle alive.
Yep.
Like I want to continue doing, like people are like, how long? I'm like, I just want to do what I want to do for a living and a good living for as long as I can.
Yeah, it's
like
great.
that is the dream. Like just to keep. So I'm like, if people, you want to do an independent thing, I'm like, yeah. You want to do a big thing? I'm like, you bet. I want to do it all.
Yeah.
Anything you can think of, I want to do.
You go on Rogan.
I like your foundation of it. Like it's a very simple, like straightforward format. You're like, I want to do
whatever I can
for as long as I fucking can.
Yeah.
And do it to the best of my fucking ability.
Yeah.
Like that. Like if people just literally thought of it like that, I don't think there would be people stressing out so much, having anxiety.
I'm here till 95 for love or money.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am here, baby.
Yeah.
Like I'm here for love or money till 95.
Yeah.
I love that. Same with you going Rogan if he asked you to go on, probably, right?
Yeah. Listen, and
Rogan hit us up.
Just inspired me right now. Like, yeah, why even
not?
think about limiting yourself? It's like, no, I want to stay here because of this, and this. But even though you're getting this like opportunity to do this dope thing and to do it in the way that you want to do it, like, why not? If you get to, if you get that.
Speaking from experience, being in the band for 26 years, like only playing with punk and hardcore bands, and then when we finally said yes and went on tour with the Mighty Boss Tones. The Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah.
And they took us around the whole country to a brand new audience. And then we kept doing that with other, but that's the reason why my band is still together, because of playing to different audiences and not being scared to get your message and your music to everybody as much as you can. You know what I mean? Not limit yourself and pigeonhole yourself.
Yes, I'll go to Springfield, Missouri. Why not?
You did. You loved it. You killed it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when my wife got arrested, though, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on her.
My wife,
we weren't there.
My wife jumped on a Nazi skinhead, and she got arrested for breaking up a fight at our show. She jumped on top of one.
Why is she doing that?
Because she was selling merch, and a fight broke out during our show. And my wife's a badass in Chicago.
No.
And my wife jumped on a Nazi and got him in headlock, and she got arrested.
I don't go near a Nazi. We don't go. Chappelle and I do not go near the Nazis.
My wife's badass.
Yeah, she's
my wife's
badass or stupid.
I don't know. She's pretty serious.
Okay. No,
she scares me. My wife's
you gotta tell her. You gotta tell her that's a no go anymore. She can tap on somebody who's Chappelle's size, and he can go out.
She got locked up. I saw her get put in a paddy wagon. It was a horrible night.
And she was safer that way, honestly.
Yeah, it was.
She could have been safer than this maniac coming at her.
I know. It was a fight by the merch booth, and she went to go
choke him out.
She jumped on top of his back, and then shit went crazy.
If there was a fight, I walk the other way. I'm like, I don't go near anything. If I see any people like, let me get involved, I'm like, oh, let me get I am out. At 110 pounds, I'm in no position. Yeah. There's nothing I can do for anyone. You gotta meet my wife someday. You love her. She's amazing. Yes.
Well, I want to talk about this unless you don't want to talk about it after, but looking at your Instagram and seeing the pictures of you like shirtless in Manhattan, walk around, I think it's so freeing and beautiful and amazing to see that.
Great.
Because I'm sure that's something you probably wanted to do for I don't know how long, but you just did it, and just seeing that, I'm just comfortable and I don't know, it's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, I got a great figure if you got it flaunted, right? So
fucking Robby.
When did you have that surgery?
I had it like 3 years ago. You know, it's the kind of thing I heard about it and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I told not a soul. I'm not putting a big sob story if you guys could help me. No. Okay. No, there's nothing. I'm gifting myself essentially the surgery where I wasn't doing nothing with my tits for 8 years. I was kind of like always flattening them or wearing sports bras and compressing them more and more. I didn't think, it wasn't overnight. I didn't make I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going back to the push-up bra after 8 years of compressing. But then it was like, for me, like...
That's painful too, right? Doing all that stuff or no?
It was fine. It was fine. Oh, the compress... Yeah, it was just uncomfortable. Okay. It was fine. I wasn't massive. B34. Pretty nice tits, guys. But the rest in peace. Pretty good pair. We're known in my family. But anyway, so I heard of it, and then I did. But when I heard of it, I was like, okay, well, if I ever wanted a tattoo, okay, I would maybe wait a year. And if I still wanted that tattoo, I would get the tattoo.
Makes total sense. I should listen to that.
Okay, yeah. So it's never happened for me. I don't have a tattoo. But I'm like, yeah, let's say I should want a wolf. Okay, come in a year. If you still want a wolf, put a wolf.
I love that.
So then with the surgery, it was like, okay, if you want the surgery, wait a year, see how you feel. And then if you still want it, wait another year for a surgery. It's 1 year for a tattoo, and I do 2 years for a surgery. And in that time, research, get everything, done. And on top of that, that was like the 8 years that I was compressed. So it felt very simple to do it. I was just like, okay. It was a half-hour surgery. I think people dramatize it a lot. I know it's a lot for some people. But to what I've gone through, I don't know. I was like, it was a week. And I should speak more to my friends, Galia and Natalie specifically, who was like emptying my drains and doing this stuff. I'm like, it's disgusting. She's like, it's not even my blood. So imagine how I feel doing this shit for you.
Yeah.
But so maybe it was worse for her. But yeah, it was a week of hell, of recovering from a surgery and wearing an even tighter compression. But it wasn't that bad. And I went to the best surgeon in the country. You don't buy a parachute on sale. There are people who want to save $1,500, $1,200. They'll go to Missouri and get it done. And I'm going, you're missing a nipple. Like, there's certain things. It's like my mother used to say, if you have to ask how much it is, you can't afford it.
It's great. So true.
So I just was like, this is a gift to myself. I'm going to pay private out of pocket. I'm just going to go to the best guy. And we're just going to do it. And I did it. And it felt so much better than I even thought. Like, I thought it would feel normal. I thought it would feel, like, good. Because there was also this big question of regret. People would say, like, well, what if you regret it, right? You cut them off and you regret it. Well, either way, I would regret it. Let's say I didn't cut them off. I could regret not cutting them off.
Totally.
Yeah.
The only experience I have is I know having them wasn't great. So let's say I cut them off and it's not great. We're back to square one.
Yeah.
So the regret thing didn't make any logical sense when I broke it down. And so then I just said, and then I just felt so much more natural. Like, imagine like you're just like how you feel. I just like love scrolling on my phone, like not wearing a shirt. I love just like not having flappity, like, but everything else is fine. I'm fine to be biologically female. I don't really push against that. But, I obviously cut my tits off. Something's wrong. Most girls don't want to cut their tits off. So something's wrong. It's fine. And that's the way I live. Like, it felt so normal. I never thought that I would necessarily show my body. I wasn't a showy body person before or after. But it looked so good that I was like, I do feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it was one of those things that I'm like, oh, this is what people, they feel they look good. So they do it. So I became one of these Insta hosts where I put it up.
How nervous were you that day or building up to it?
I wasn't that nervous because it's hearing that whisper. It's like a decision.
You're ready.
I just knew myself and it felt so fine. It almost felt like not a thing after. Like, it felt so normal right away that there wasn't an adjustment. It was just like, oh, I'll put on a t-shirt and go. Yeah. And it just literally has been normal since.
It's amazing.
Yeah. The other thing I thought about all the time, because when I would put on a shirt, I would put on a binder or a sports. So you're always thinking, you're always feeling. Now I'm feeling and thinking so much less.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not having to put on or like getting home, like, I can't wait to take my bra off. Like, it's already off. Yeah. We're good.
And what about your mom about it? Well, your mom?
I don't know if my mother knows about it or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we have. There's certain things we don't. But my brother called me. I may have alluded. I may have alluded to some type of breast scare or something, in order to ease my family.
Got you.
So I think it came from my brother first, and I just went with it. Like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
He called me and was like, yeah, my wife gets cysts sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, cysts can happen. So it's just, it's good, like, to take preventative care. Sometimes he's like, you did the right thing. Okay. Because it's not some Elliot Page shit, right? You did. And I was like,
who looks amazing too.
Who looks amazing.
Who looks amazing.
And I love Elliot Page, and shout out.
Yeah.
But my family is like, it better not be. My brother told me, he's like, it better just end here. And I'm like, I'll keep you posted. And people are like, how do you still talk to this guy? And I'm like, he's my brother. Like, what?
How old is he?
How old is he? Maybe 36.
36.
But
he's the oldest?
No. My oldest brother. But all my brothers, it's like, people are like, how do you talk to these people? I'm like, than my brother. Like, there's no cutting off. Like, regular people grow up and they're like, they cut off. I'm like, even if I wanted to cut off my brother, let's say I told him like, hey, don't call her noise. Like, you gonna cut me off? He would still cut. Like, there's nothing. He's not gonna accept the cutoff.
Yeah.
That's the realest shit because it's so true. You just go, fucking. I can't cut you off.
Because I don't care for gay people. You cut me off.
Yeah.
Like, that's him. He's like, what?
So are people always asking you questions about like what your next move might be, or what are you doing? Or
six of my family members sent me the Elliot Page article when that came out. Yeah,
okay.
so they're like, "We're ready any day," and they're very nice and supportive about it. And sometimes they don't.
Nice.
We all tell each other exactly what we feel. My brother, the same brother who called me, and he hoped that this was the end of it, the last of it. Because he was like, he's the same brother who called me when the vaccine. He's like, whatever you did, don't take the vaccine. For COVID. Like, that's him. He's like, I know they're pushing it hard in that queer community over there.
Your brother's insane.
Yeah. That's exactly what he sounds like.
They're pushing it hard.
I know. And he goes to me, he goes, like, he's so worried about, but he's like, he didn't care. He got some email at work about pride, and he said they're pushing this agenda on me and blah blah blah. And he said, I don't care for queer, I don't care for these gay people. I was like, well, that's me, I'm like, you're talking about me. He's like, well, not you. I'm like, no, but I am a gay person. He's like, well, not you. You're my flesh and blood. I'd take a bullet for you. Yeah. But I'm like, no, he doesn't understand that he's talking about me.
That's actually. I respect it.
Yeah. I'm like,
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
He's like, well, obviously not you. I'm like, no, but literally me. But it's why he cannot make the connection.
Yeah. When you first took those photos, was that like how was that feeling?
So normal. Again, like just there's almost no. Like, that was the photos I think you're referring to, by the way, are for New York Fashion Week, which I was a model or a comedian model for the brand Susan Alexandra, shout out.
That's amazing.
And we got to do the show at the Comedy Cellar, and it was really, really fun. And we were dressed, in all of their accessories. But in addition to that, the real dressed us. And I was in vintage Oscar de la Renta. And I do have a penchant for fashion and things like that. But, which is the wrong column of gay, but it's fine. And originally they had the puffy, there was this puffy shirt I could wear. And I thought that'd be funny for the Seinfeld reference, which I think was lost on them. But I was like, oh, the puffy shirt. And they were like, and I'm like, no, because I'm a comedian. Anyway. But it didn't fit. The collar was too big. Okay. And it fit, but it didn't fit perfect. And for me, my advice, fashion for most people is fit is number one. Like, forget anything else. If something doesn't fit you exactly the way you want it to fit, it's never going to, and you're not going to enjoy it. That's like really the first thing. So even if it's a cool shirt, it's a cool ode, or it's funny, I just will scrap it if the fit isn't what makes me feel good. Yeah. So I scrapped it, and there was the idea of me going, topless, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do this. I feel much better as me. Amazing. And I think there's like an overlap with that. On stage, you're almost for me, and this is not for everyone, I'm almost an exaggerated version of myself on stage. Yeah. In my daily life, I'm not yelling about this and that all the time, but on stage is an outlet for me to like really whatever. And I think the hardest thing, or what people grow to be like in stand-up, is to be the most you on stage. And so the closer I get to that, which is a process, the better I feel. Mm-hmm. And so it did feel good. It was cool to do that. And it felt very natural. Almost everything else, it's like it's funny because my high school friends think that I change my voice sometimes, that like, oh, my voice is a lot more Jewy now versus like my brother's sound. My girl heard my brothers on the phone. So she's like, their Jewiness is so much that she doesn't understand what they're saying. And I realized, no, in high school I was changing my voice to sound more Jappy or Canadian. And Jappy, I mean in a Jewish American princess way, not shout out to my Japanese friends, but nothing to do. It's also a derogatory term for rich Jews. And I was always changing my voice to sound more more like proper, or more like literate, or more like, so now I like kind of have this amalgamation of talking. Yeah, it's a process. And now it's like getting back to myself, or like how I am with my family. Like I'm thinking less about how I sound, versus when I used to think like, do I sound too masculine? Do I sound too uneducated? Do I sound too whatever, poor or whatever, or Jewish or whatever? Now I just don't care. And whatever amalgamation comes out is what comes out.
I love that. Do you have any regrets in your life?
Tons. I live a life in regret.
I think that's your first guess to say hell yeah.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. You know what?
What's
one of my big things too is like I feel like everybody is like no regrets, YOLO. And I'm like, I live a life of regret. And I feel like I'm the only person sometimes. Like I regret how I, managed breaking up with an ex and ending a big, very important relationship to me and discovering myself through therapy and stuff. What I could discovered later or whatever. There's things that I regret, of course. I have regrets far as back as like I had the option as a teenager to go to this rich private school, go to this art school. I don't know if I should have gone to the art school. That would have been like, I don't know. I have a life. I live a life in regret.
Okay.
As well. Like, and I also live a life in not regret.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, of course I regret things. I don't understand people who don't regret things. And maybe they don't, but they're like, no regrets. But I'm like, all I hear in this society is like, no regrets, happiness. And it's like, maybe the goal, I think it's like this fake thing to push towards happiness. And it's like, I would rather push towards balance. Like, have regrets, have not regrets. Have things that you bet on that actually paid off really well.
Yeah.
And some things, okay, you missed the mark. Like, I can't have the pressure of it being perfect. I can't have the pressure of it's like no regrets whatsoever, only happiness, no hurt. It's like I need a balance of being a whole human person living an existence, a full existence with all of the things in it. I obviously want it to be a net positive, but the pressure of no regrets, YOLO, and happiness only makes me anxious.
Okay.
I think that's a great way to say it, because I mean, I'm one of those people that's like no regrets, but mine isn't based off of like a YOLO type of thing as much as it's based off of more so I say I don't regret anything, because if I regret it, then I feel like I didn't learn. But I guess it's basically what you're saying. I think we just say it differently.
Yes.
Yes. So like I don't say it in the fact of the YOLO. So I guess it's more so what you're saying. Like those shits like that I did that were like bad things where I'm like, yeah, that fucking, I don't regret it because I'm learning. But hearing it with through your lens, I actually kind of like that better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's too much pressure. All of the positive thinking movement, which I think is good. It's uncultural for me, and I know you're all about that. What do you have written there?
Next one, you need an optimist or pessimist.
I think I need a balance. I need a balance.
I love
that.
Okay, sometimes I'm optimistic, and sometimes I'm not feeling so good about some shit. I'm like, this doesn't look good.
A realist.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes I'm optimistic.
This
it's
is
like
so great.
I can't be put in this thing or that thing, and like, what if I'm in this thing and then I feel this one thing? I'm like, oh my god, am I trading the thing?
Yeah.
It's like, no. You're going to feel a balance, a net positive, of course.
Yeah.
But through hurt, you learn all this stuff. It's like, you can't even have that without none of it is any logical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I would say I'm more optimistic.
For sure.
But I feel
Thanks
like.
to the Morses.
What'd you say?
Thanks to the Morse family.
Thanks to the Morse. But I do have this like fucking edge to me where, that fucking guy is like, yo, fuck you. You know what I mean? But that's, I guess that's my
It's impossible
balance.
to be happy all the time, though, and be like, the world's great.
There's times you want to punch somebody. Come on.
For sure. I'm not happy skipping every day. Life's wonderful.
And for me to complain is joy. So also it's like, I am happy pointing out, like I could be on a yacht and be like, the floors aren't, this is like, I could find a problem anywhere. It doesn't mean I'm unhappy. It just means I'm being me, and you got to calm down. Okay. But it's not a bad thing. I don't want like every time you do something bad, it's like, or if I do something like point out, or I complain that, I'm pessimistic. No, that's actually me being joyful. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to be joyful, and there's different ways. Okay. Like, it's too much pressure for everyone to be the same type of view of positive and whatever. It's like, I think what makes me feel the best is being me the most. And just like that is just going to be net positive, but it allows me room to make mistakes, to not feel the pressures of like, I don't know, stepping out of line or something. This might be
my new way of living, which she's talking about now. I love that.
Yeah.
It's great. That's some real Kirby enthusiasm.
Robby out here.
Robby out here being on a yacht.
Yeah, Robby out here inspiring.
Look at this.
Man, yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Well, so what are you working on now? What's new for you? What's coming?
I'm working on my development projects on my shows and a ton of stand-up still too. I'll be at I don't know when this comes out, but I'm going to be doing about a new hour at the New York Comedy Fest on November 11th at Little Fields, and I'm going to have some. Oh yeah, I think I saw that. There. Yeah. Are you down there?
No.
Okay.
Is that where is that?
New York Comedy.
New York.
Yeah, New York. Okay.
So are you going to be? You're not going to be in New York at that time?
I've been in New York one
time. I can't wait to tell Rappaport all about you at this podcast.
When is it? I don't know when it is.
Anyway.
You should be opening for Rappaport
so I'm there. I would love to.
I'll make it happen.
I would love to make it happen. Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram at Robby Hoffman, and I post in my stories all the shows that are upcoming. I'm pretty last minute with it, maybe a day before, 2 days before. The New York show is posted a month ahead because it's a bigger show. But I'll be in San Francisco opening for Best Selling next week. October.
Shouts out to Best Selling.
Yeah, literally. October 12th to 15th at the Punchline.
Okay, now that you're in the comedy game for a while, you didn't grow up really watching comedy. Do you have a favorite comedian?
I love everybody doing it.
Okay.
I have a lot less favorite comedians now that I do it. I have respect for so many more people that do it.
Good point.
You know, I respect. I appreciate. I love the greatest, the biggest. You know, I still love Ellen, Howard Stern. You know, like the biggest names you could think of doing it.
Yeah.
I still, well, and obviously Howard Stern's not a comedian, but you know, is he? You know, but I also like all the. I like people coming. I like anybody doing it and doing what they do best. You know, I remember watching this guy Bill Engvall, who's like an old like blue belt, and I was like, I love him. Like he had this bit about, you know, I'm with stupid. If stupid people wore a sign, it'd be so much easier if they just wore a sign. We'd all understand it, and it would be easier. Like that spoke to me on such a level, and it's like apparently he's some blue. You know, or like some Republican, like I don't even know, but I'm like, I just love anybody doing what they do really well.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of favorites. You know, the specials I liked, it turns out that all the specials I liked in the pandemic were gay girl, like they were all dykes. So I don't know, but I love like Tig's animated special. There was no reason for it to be animated. I loved Hannah Gatsby's special Douglas, which everybody's gonna be mad. Just watch Douglas; it's excellent writing. And I love Sam J's special. So it was like literally all three. And I was like, maybe I do like it, but I love, you know, I loved Michelle Buteau. I love everybody who's doing it well and doing it at an elite level. I think I just like the biggest to the whatever.
And you both find it very therapeutic doing comedy, telling your stories, and
I don't know.
I don't know if it's therapeutic as much as it's just fun as fuck.
I feel like for you, though, your story and the stuff you went through and your anger management and your life and the way you tell those stories.
Yeah, now I just tell those stories differently.
Okay.
Like, I mean, when I was telling them, like, when I told those stories in anger management, I told them in a way that was just very, you know, tough.
Yeah.
But now I tell them in such a funny way because now I've just found the humor in it. I think humor has just always been a thing in me, even though I didn't really fuck with comedy or anything like that. So I think it's just always been in me, and it's like, why not laugh about that shit? That shit funny now.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Same for you?
Yeah, I guess it's therapeutic. I never call it, like, I guess, yes, I'm doing it, and it feels, you know, like, I guess it's therapeutic. I can't tell when therapy is happening is the issue with me. Like, I really don't know how to... I think I'm getting better. I think therapy's and I do real therapy and I do this.
Yeah, I just started doing it too first time, yeah.
But it's like I definitely know through like a big breakup or something, processing stuff and realizing more about myself. And it's like I used to really shut away from like, oh, well, because when I was a kid, this happened. I'm like, shut up and move forward. Okay, the past is the past and you just move on. But now I'm really all about like, oh, because this happened to you at 5, like this, it is literally all about your childhood. I've made a total roundabout, so I can tell it when it's happening, that thing. Like, oh, I'm triggered by this thing because of this thing. but I can't tell in the moment when therapy is happening. I'm sure it's happening over time, and I look back, but in the moment, can I tell something is therapeutic? I feel good.
Yeah.
And I've definitely processing through things through stand-up, which has to be therapeutic, but I can't. Those are hard questions for me to answer because I don't really I don't know if I'm giving a right answer or not.
Well, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel
what the benchmarks are.
It's probably like a release. It makes you guys both feel happy doing that and comedy in front of crowds and getting stuff out and
because this is
people laugh.
This is a really hard concept to try and explain how I'm thinking about stuff. But I wish, like, let's say like Ben Shapiro and like
Trevor Noah.
Yeah. Let's say, they got to talking and like they both have like a point about something. I wish there was like a God or something right then and there who could tell us like who was really right. Like, because I don't always, I'm like, and those are, like polar opposite examples, but people who are even closer together in nuance and in ideology, I'm like, okay, then I started to get gray.
I thought you were trying to go.
No, I'm like,
opposite.
Who's right? Well, like, I feel like if I said yes, therapy was happening, okay, I want like the God to come down and be like, actually, no therapy happened at that point. Like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but he'd be like, you had therapy. That was actually great for you. And I was like, I don't know. I can't bird's eye view it enough. And I feel like I want there to be a ref and there can't be. It's always gray.
Have your parents seen you do comedy?
Yes. My actually both. But my mother has come. She's extremely supportive. She doesn't like, she sometimes says, she goes, well, you didn't tell them I tried. And I'm like, oh, Ma, that's not the joke. Oh, and by the way, my mother did the best she could. And by the way, if that is if that is the best you could, maybe it's not good enough. By the way, if that, maybe you don't want people to know that's the best you could.
Yeah.
Even though, of course, with she was so spread out. Like, but it's like, she's like, her big thing is like, she forgets it's comedy.
Yeah.
You didn't tell the people I tried. And it's like, Mom, they know.
They know.
You're there.
Your mom's so incredible.
That's such a parent thing when it comes to comedy.
Your mom's badass. Like, shout out to your mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Raising all those kids on her own and just all that. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll give her this episode. I don't think she ever heard me on a podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Now she'll know that you told us that she tried.
Yeah, exactly. See, Ma, we all know you tried and you did great.
Yeah.
And
the last thing, neither you get worried about getting canceled or speaking your piece in this world they're in right now? Like, worried about things you can and can't say?
I don't know.
Because I'm honestly, like, when you think about it, a lot of times, I mean, I know as far as you and I, like I said, I can't speak for anybody else.
I love you say that.
But I think, as far as I go, I'm just saying what I'm going to say, and it's not to my intentions aren't to make someone offended. And so if something is said to where it's like, I'm like, well, how did you get there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm never trying to say so. I'm just trying to express myself, and I'm not always right or wrong or anything. I'm just talking things out. You know what? I really don't love hurting people. I remember early in my career, I did a show in Montreal, and I had a fat joke. I had a joke that was like, it was about online dating had just started or something. And I said, what is the goal of people who don't post realistic pictures? Because if I did an online dating, I would have a shot of my head, my face, and then I'd have a full body. And so that you could have as realistic, and then I would have a description about myself so I could try and portray to you in a snapshot what you're getting when you come there. But people who don't post a full body, it's like, what's the goal? Surprise, I'm fat? Like, how do you go to date? If you're not just you, then what's the plan going forward? That you catfish somebody into
Yeah.
So I thought it was, this was back when, people were talking, about stuff like this. And somebody wrote me. She wrote me. She said, hey, I've been a fan. And I was new in stand-up, too, maybe like 2 years. She said, I've been following you around the scene, blah, blah, blah. And I was really disappointed to hear that. And it did get me because I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like that. And I did mean it like that. But I was like, oh, my God. I feel like, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't need to, if I can limit hurt, it goes back to kashrut. If I could apply humanity to what I do and limit hurt, then I would prefer to do that with still being true to myself and trying expanding ideas and trying not to limit how I think and talk to people and relate to people and getting to understand others and finding commonalities rather than focusing on differences. So I just said, you know what? I'm gonna try and adjust the joke, and if you can continue to support me and come out and let me buy you a drink and apologize. And she did.
No way.
Yeah, and she came up to me and I said, you know, I
that's amazing.
I don't think of what it's like to be bigger, and it's one of the last things, and and I just didn't feel good about it. So I definitely.
That's amazing.
You know, I'm not trying to not be canceled. Like, I think that's become this like very polarizing thing right now, and this fun kind of weird public thing that's happening. But on a personal level, like, I'm just trying to talk and relate and understand you and understand myself through what I do. Yeah. And I don't always get it right, and I don't always get it wrong. And there's a lot of right and there's a lot of wrong, and there's a lot of just like growing. But I think in terms of like people wanting the shock value of I don't know if that's really my style anyway.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. My shit's not of shock. It's more so just it's a lot of it is just self-reflection
totally
on my life through a lot of situations that that anyone can go through. So I mean it'd be weird to kind of cancel me for talking about my own life. I get because I don't have any hot takes on anything.
And I do have a lot of hot takes, and I have opinions on things I know nothing about. I'll have an opinion on anything. I don't need to know about it. I don't need to I'll just talk out whatever. So, and I might not always, sometimes I think like people think I think something that I don't think or something like that. Same. So I might not think exactly how you think or whatever, but the intent is never about you. It's just to kind of express myself or and if 100%. It's wrong, I want to talk about, like, I always want it to expand the conversation, not shut down the conversation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If possible. Now, if it's a hateful conversation or something that just like needs not to be engaged in, that's one thing, but I don't know. Well, thank you both for being. I'm excited for both your careers and seeing how everything's going. It's beautiful, man. You guys are very young. I'm very old, and just seeing,
No, it's cool.
How
you guys
are maneuvering. Your thanks for the opportunity to be on here. Yeah. You're amazing, and your story is incredible, and where you're at now, and it's awesome. It's fascinating. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And your family and your mom. Damn, your mom. Oh, my God. Ma, you're listening to this? Okay. I said, as they are my witness, I said to everybody, you tried, and you did great. You're still doing great. Yeah. Really great. And I'm happy you're happy with your own skin and where you are in your world and your life. Yeah. Oh, if my mother's listening, she'll know that for the first time. Oh, shoot. She'll be worried sick, but she'll get over it. We'll talk about it. But you do feel good in your body and everything now, and you just feel. I feel great. I feel great. Awesome. I got my PAP coming up. My every 3 years you get the PAP smear. Not looking forward to that. It's a big Q-tip up there, and I'm not into the penetrative. But so we do our PAP. We get our fingering done for the year, and we move on. But you guys can follow me at Robby Hoffman on Instagram, and I am Robby Hoffman on Twitter. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. This is fucking awesome. Thank you, Chappelle Navy Show. Thank you. Of course. Bye, y'all. Bye. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swipe the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting.
I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to Removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations, U.S., Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology, cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to Removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out. Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives.